If you're Gen X like me, you probably saw this show when it aired.
America, tomorrow is the most exciting miniseries in television history.
You just didn't realize it had some of the coolest sci-fi weapons of the decade. Forget phasers. Forget blasters. Personally, I think the V-laser pistol and rifle are the undisputed champs of sci-fi weapon design. I was 8 years old and living in a post-Return of the Jedi world when the series re-aired in 1984. But I remember thinking these guns were totally different. Compact, sleek, and aggressive. But what really makes them unforgettable is their sound. Not a zap, not a pew, pew, pew. These things cracked, like they were tearing a hole through the air every time they fired. They were so iconic, other franchises didn't just take notes, they straight up copied them. And so while other shows were playing with sparks and strobe lights, V gave us weapons that felt like they had weight, they had power, and some seriously questionable safety protocols.
I can't make this stupid thing work. Safety's over here.
Each laser blast had to be meticulously created in post-production. And the series creator Kenneth Johnson said in a director's commentary that each shot cost $1,000.
And the laser shots, $1,000 every time one of those little things goes off. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. That's how much they cost. And this was, of course, in the days before CGI and all that magic. And these were real film opticals that were tied to explosions that Tommy Reba and Tommy Tokunaga and Carl Inkervaya set up on the set for me.
All right, do you know how to use this?
Like the rifle, yeah.
So, let's talk about the rifle. I actually like the rifle more than the pistol. And it's basically just a pistol with extra parts attached to it. You have a removable stock, an extended barrel, and sometimes a scope. And what I mean by sometimes, in the first episode, most of the time the rifle appeared on screen, there was no scope. Then, by episode 2, you started seeing shock troopers with scopes. I can only assume they started issuing the rifles with scopes for obvious reasons, I guess. No, seriously. Where did these guys learn to shoot? There were actually 2 types of rifles used during filming. Hero rifles, made of resin and metal for close-up shots, and rubber stunt rifles, used in wide or distant scenes where less detail was needed. And if you pay close enough attention, you can actually see them in some scenes where they look slightly bent or literally bounce when dropped. I would have killed to have one of these as a kid, and in the 80s, toy stores had you covered. Sort of. Turns out, Arco actually released toy versions of the Visitor weapons back in 1984. There was a rubber dart pistol, a 45er with sound effects, and even a Defender rifle target game set. But once the weekly series fizzled, so did the toy line. And with the show canceled, some of the toys were repackaged entirely, stripped of logos, and dumped on the market with no connection to V at all. A merchandiser's way of saying nothing to see here. And some V toys never even hit US shelves. A few oddities popped up overseas, like forgotten artifacts from a resistance cell you've never heard of. If you missed out on the toys back in the day, well, snooze and you lose. But in 2004, something even better surfaced. A screen-used Visitor rifle from the original miniseries, the Holy Grail. I placed my bid. Watched the timer count down. For a moment, it felt like it might actually happen. But with just seconds left, I was outbid.
So you get nothing! You lose!
Now, props like that only show up on high-end auction sites, with price tags to match. My lost rifle, it's out there somewhere, 4 times the cost, no doubt. About 10 years ago, I finally got my hands on something special. A resin replica of the Visitor pistol. It wasn't some mass-produced collectible, this one had weight. texture, small imperfections in the casting, like air bubbles and rough edges that only made it feel more real.
Looking at a forum online, it looks like someone got a hold of one of the original molds from production. And honestly, I believe it. I like to think the props team cranked out hundreds of these for background actors. All a little different. All a little flawed. It didn't come painted, so I took matters into my own hands. Found old fan guides and screen-accurate paint references online. Back in 1984, on my old CRT, those pistols just looked black. Flat. But watching the DVDs and Blu-rays years later, you can actually see the subtle gray-blue accents, even a hint of metallic sheen. It was like discovering a detail that had always been there, just waiting for better tech and older eyes to notice. With the rise of 3D printers, that all changed. Fans weren't just collecting anymore, they were perfecting. Scans, measurements, screen matching, these replicas got sharper, cleaner, screen accurate in every detail. Although the weight of these would never let them be confused as a screen-used prop, they certainly look like them. So I did what any perfectly reasonable, gainfully employed adult with a soft spot for 80s sci-fi would do. I dropped $1,000 on a 3D printer, just to make one for myself. One quick online search and boom, plans downloaded. Because obviously what my life was missing was the fulfillment of all my childhood yearning, and every missed eBay auction rolled into one glorious print job. Of course, it couldn't just print in one go. This thing had to be built in pieces, like some kind of sci-fi IKEA project. Piece by piece, it started looking less like a bin of failed prototypes and more like the rifle I'd wanted since 1984. About 36 hours later, and a lot of superglue, I was done. No, it's not 100% screen accurate, but for a fan build, it turned out pretty damn nice. The proportions are spot on, and the print came out super clean. It's lightweight too, like we said earlier. No one's ever gonna confuse this for a screen-used prop, but that's kind of the charm. There's still a little room for revisions. I need to paint a few accents, like the buttons on the scope. And I used luminous PLA for the connecting tube and scope screen, which gives it a subtle glow, which wasn't really necessary, but looks cool nonetheless. So yeah, after years of chasing, bidding, and obsessing, I finally have a visitor rifle of my own. And I didn't even have to outbid anyone this time. Well, I hope you like this video. Your positive feedback is always welcome. This channel is still pretty new, and I've got plenty more weird, nostalgic projects in the works. So if you're into that sort of thing, you know what to do.
There will be more announcements later.